Welcome in. Welcome in week 13 edition of the Cash Process. I'm your host, Ben Hostler. We are here to recap week 12 and preview the week 13 NFL DFS slate. Hopefully, you guys had a good week 12. I did. Had a very, very good Thanksgiving Day slate. Could have been a monster Thanksgiving Day slate if Dallas did not get that pick six at the end of that game. Cost me multiple thousands of dollars, which was tilting, but overall, profitable day. And then profit again on the main slate. I had some tournament teams. I was taking down one of the $100 tournaments on DraftKings late on Sunday. Ended up getting passed for first because of that overtime in the Bills-Eagles game. But it was a profitable day. Won cash games. Had a couple tournament teams that did really good. Couple Kyler Murray teams that did good. Kyler double stacks with Dortch and McBride with Kyron Williams on the other side, which did really well. And then I had a couple Josh Allen teams that did decent. Ended up making a late swap in cash. I don't know if I had to late swap. I didn't go back and add this up. I think I would have cashed regardless, but I was a little bit worried because Michael Pittman and Rachaad White were pretty decently owned in that early window. They didn't have Rachaad White didn't have a monster game, but he had a good game. And then Michael Pittman did pretty good too. So I was a little bit worried that I didn't have them. And I knew I had Pacheco, who I knew was going to be popular. I had Justin Watson, who I knew was going to be popular. So I ended up swapping. And then I had guys that just didn't do I had Tank Dell had a good game. Christian Kirk had a good game, but not a great game. Of course, he was down at the one right before half. He couldn't have got that in. But so I ended up swapping Jalen Hurts and Justin Watson to Josh Allen and Khalil Shakir. Again, I didn't go back and add it up if it would have mattered, but I know Josh Allen did outscore Jalen Hurts by a few points. And Shakir, I don't know if he outscored Watson. Watson scored a touchdown, but Shakir had more catches, I think. So I didn't go add it up. But either way, cash game winner, tournament did decent, profited. And I've been feeling good. I'm ready for the week 13 slate. I told you guys 2 weeks ago, if you were thinking about signing up, I would have signed up because I could feel that we were going to string some wins together. And it's been a really good 2 weeks. Did great on Sunday Night Showdown and on Monday Night Showdown as well. So overall, it's been a good couple weeks here. As far as week 13 goes, we have another 10-game slate. If you're watching this video, please like the video on YouTube. It helps us out. Subscribe to the channel. And if you want to sign up still, dfskarma.com/pricing or betkarma.com/pricing. If you're a sports bettor, you want access to my betting cards, the betting tools that we have great betting tools. And I've already posted a big betting card for college football championship weekend. This weekend, I have 10 bets already, and there's some more stuff I'm going to be adding. So if you want to tap in and try and win some extra money for NFL DFS Sunday, you can find that at Bet Karma. Week 13, another 10-game slate. Maybe the best game of the season is coming up here. Eagles and 49ers. These two teams hate each other. The 49ers hate the Eagles. They've been talking all offseason. They talked about how they would have won that game if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt. I don't think that's the case, personally. I think that last season, I think that the Eagles were going to the Super Bowl regardless of who they played. I think that they were the best team in the NFL. And the best team always doesn't win. Patrick Mahomes beat them in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. And when you get in one game sample sizes, the best quarterback often can win games. So that's what happened. But I do think the Eagles were the best team in football last year, and I don't think it was close. So I don't think the 49ers would have beat them. This year, I think it's going to be more of a conversation, especially when we get to the postseason. So I don't think anything matters from this game. All that's going to matter is if San Fran can come to Philly and win in the playoffs, not in the regular season. So we're going to wait and see what happens there. The 49ers are favored in this game, and I wouldn't be shocked if they win. The Eagles haven't been playing as good as they were last season. They've been winning games, but they've been narrowly winning games, comeback wins left and right for the Eagles. So, and the 49ers are very good when fully healthy. So, I'm not shocked that the Niners are favored here. But I'm not going to draw any conclusions from this. All that's going to matter is if the 49ers can beat them in the playoffs, which we should see that matchup, later on when it comes to that time. So really, really fun game, which will be great for DFS. Other than that, we have 9 other games. Starting off at quarterback here, Jalen Hurts, 8,200. I mean, what can we say? He had another 36.5 DraftKings points. He has a rushing touchdown in every game except for 3 this season. He has multiple rushing touchdowns in 3 games this season. He has, I'm pretty sure, the most rushing touchdowns in football since last season, I'm pretty sure, or something around there. Just insane, the stuff that he does. Yeah, I said this to Matt on Sunday, but like I don't understand how the Eagles get down at the 2-yard line or 1-yard line every game. I don't know how it happens. Somehow, some way, it always happens that they're down at the 2 or 1, and then Jalen Hurts punches it in literally every single game. So I mean, we're at the point where you can almost bake in just 6 points to Jalen Hurts when you roster him. So I think he's a fine play. He's always been good at home. If you look at his home games this season, Buffalo 36.5, Dallas 25.8, Miami 25, Washington 27, Minnesota 26. He's averaging over 25 DraftKings points per game at home this season. If you look at his bad games, they've all come on the road. Kansas City 19, the Patriots 13, that was on the road. Tampa Bay 21, that was on the road. So all of his bad games come on the road. He's great at home for fantasy. You can use him in cash games every single week. I think for me, the conversation for cash this week comes down to if you want to get up to him or if you want to play Brock Purdy. I like Brock Purdy a lot at 6,100. He's my favorite option this week. I'm probably going to be playing him. All these guys in between those two, you can consider for tournaments. Like obviously Tua, good spot here against Washington. Sam Howell on the opposite side of that game, good spot. Like you can make the argument for any of those guys in tournaments, CJ Stroud, but for cash games, it's the best game of the week. It's Jalen Hurts or it's Brock Purdy. So Brock Purdy, historically, really good home splits, not as good on the road. But we have seen him have a decent game on the road this season at Tampa 29, which is big for me because we really hadn't seen it up to that point. And Tampa, in terms of stylistic, how you attack them and their defense, is very similar to the Eagles. Tampa is very, very good up front and against the run, and they're very, very leaky in the secondary, and they force teams to throw at one of the highest rates in football. And the 49ers went, up against Tampa, and he had 29 DraftKings points. So that game actually was at home. So excuse me, it was not on the road. Jacksonville on the road, he had 23, which that's fine. But regardless, stylistically, how you attack Tampa, very, very similar to how you attack the Eagles. Eagles, very good up front, very good against the run, very leaky in the secondary this season, and they force teams to throw at one of the highest rates in football. If you guys have read my content or if you watched videos the last few weeks, we have been taking quarterbacks against the Eagles pretty regularly. Started with Dak Prescott a few weeks ago. I was all in on Josh Allen against them this past weekend. Really like Purdy here. Love when their offense is fully healthy. 6,100. I think Purdy's a great play. So Purdy or Hurts for cash for me. Lean to Purdy right now. But we'll see what happens by the time we get the weekend. In terms of cheaper guys, I mean, Gardner Minshew against Tennessee is a good spot at 5,300. Kenny Pickett, would never play him in cash, but against Arizona, maybe you can consider him in tournaments. But overall, it's a 2-quarterback conversation for me this week. And that's how I'm approaching the slate. In terms of cash games, tournaments, you can make arguments for other guys. At running back, things get weird at running back here. We got this news that Jonathan Taylor is going to miss a couple weeks here, which gives us Zach Moss for 4,600. So I'm going to talk about him first. Tough matchup against Tennessee, but as you can see, he's already had a 36.5 DraftKings points game against Tennessee this season. I don't really care much about that. I care about the fact that he's going to be the lead back for 4,600. So if you're playing cash games this week, you put Zach Moss in, he'll be 90% owned, and that's 10% too less. You should be playing Zach Moss this week. So go ahead, plug him in. After him, there's more of a conversation. So we have McCaffrey at the top. Great play always. He can beat you rushing, receiving, safest floor in all of fantasy football. You know, we're going to be playing pieces of that game anyways. Like, if you want to get up to McCaffrey, you can. Then we have Alvin Kamara here at 8,200. So he hasn't really been having, like, he was having a stretch there where he had some monster games here at 29 and at 27 back to back. He's coming off 18 and 15, which you don't love at 8,200, but there's a reason we like it this week, and it's how banged up New Orleans is going to be at the receiver position. So they're already down Michael Thomas, who's on IR. Chris Olave left last week's game with a concussion, and I'm pretty sure the only player to get a concussion and like play, there's been very, very few. Like Purdy did it. One of the Bucks corners did it earlier this season, but it's been very rare that someone's been concussed and then played the next week. So good chance he misses. So that's 2 receivers out. And Rashid Shaheed also left last week's game with a hamstring injury. So his status is up in the air. So even if one of those 3 play, they're very, very thin in terms of receiver. So Alvin Kamara is going to see a ton of targets here. We've seen the upside from him multiple times this season. He's had 14 target games. So Alvin Kamara would be my preferred spend up at the running back position over McCaffrey, over Eckler. And I think he's a great play. So Alvin Kamara's in play for me. Mostert, I think, is a good tournament play. Kyren Williams is in play for me for cash games. Really, we talked about him on the Sunday morning stream last week. Played a lot of him in tournaments. Thought he was going to be under-owned. And he came out and put up 41 DraftKings points. Kyren Williams is a monster. And you can run on Cleveland. Cleveland's been getting beat on run plays the last 2 weeks. They could not stop Jaylen Warren. And in terms of like size and the way they play, Kyren Williams is very similar to Jaylen Warren. They're like explosive, smaller running backs. And they got beat on the ground against Denver last week too. So Kyren Williams at home, 7,200. I don't care about the matchup. He's in play for me. So Kamara, Kyren are both cash game options for me. Moving down here, most of these guys in this upper 6K tier are tournament plays because I would just be getting up to Kyren over them. Rachaad White was very popular last week. He's a cash game play for me this week. 6,300 at home against the worst run defense in football. Pretty consistent game log here, 17.9, 27, 17, 17, 16. Hasn't really flashed that upside except for that 27.9, but he has the upside there. The Bucks, like, basically the Bucks were on the 1-yard line early in the game last week, and they ran a pass play. It was incomplete, and then they tried a quarterback sneak, and Baker Mayfield got hurt on the play, and then they got a penalty and moved back and had to throw it. So he should have had another 6 points, in my opinion, if they would have just handed the ball off. So Rachaad White definitely in play for me in cash at 6,300. I'm going to put him in my early build. So I'm going to, as I go here, I'm going to build an early cash team. So we're going to put Purdy and Zach Moss, Rachaad White. Love Rachaad White, and then love the Pittsburgh guys here. Jalen Moore 54, Najee Harris 52 at home against Arizona. Both are in play for me. Ramondre Stevenson at 6K also in play for me. Love a lot of the running backs this week. There's a ton of good running back plays. I'm excited to build teams because I like a lot of these running back plays. Stevenson's been coming on. As you can see, he's been much better the last 3 weeks. Good matchup here against the Chargers. Like him at home. And then, Arizona, we saw what Kyren Williams did to them last week. Both Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris are in play for me. I think you can play either of them in cash games. So we'll see what goes on here at receiver, and then I'll decide what else I'm going to do. Moving over to receiver, Tyreek Hill. The worst fade in all of NFL DFS this season has been Tyreek Hill. Play him in cash games. Do not fade him. He has showed us last week he can have a big game on the road. He had 28 on Black Friday, 9 from 102 and a touchdown. Was also down inside the 5 again, so could have had 2 touchdowns. Washington is one of the best matchups possible for a receiver right now. And since they've traded Montez Sweat and Chase Young, they're bottom 5 in NFL in terms of getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa is going to sit back and pick these guys apart. Mike McDaniel is going to just put on a masterclass in terms of scheme against this Washington defense. The only thing I wish they did fire Jack Del Rio after that Thanksgiving Day game. If we would have got a Mike McDaniel against Jack Del Rio game here, this could have been another like 60 pointer from the Dolphins. Like I really think that. So Tyreek is going in the cash game lineup. You're playing him this week. Find a way to get to him. I think he's going to smash. Everyone below him is in play for tournaments. Brandon Ayuk sticks out to me. Only had 13 DK and 6 of it came on a touchdown last week against Seattle. But I mean, they were up in that game. It was 31-13 final. Like, I don't know. It never really felt like Seattle was in that game. This will be a different situation in a 2-3 point spread in a hyped up game in Philly. So I like Brandon Ayuk and I like Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's made it known he hates the Eagles. I'm sure he'll be ready to roll here. So I like both the Niners guys for cash and tournaments. Pittman is in play again, but 71, we're getting a little too high, I think. But he is in play. He's honestly probably safer than like a Deebo Samuel. So you could throw him in the cash conversation as well. Josh Downs, I like a lot at 5,100. I played Josh Downs in cash last week. Had 13 targets, only caught 5 of them, and also was down at the 1 yard line. So super tilting game for the Sharks that played Josh Downs with me last week. I like Josh Downs at 5,100. He's in the cash conversation. I like George Pickens at 4,800 and Deontay Johnson at 5K. I think I prefer Pickens if choosing one of them. But I like both for cash. But I would take Downs over both of them. So Downs is like someone I could see playing in cash this week personally. Curtis Samuel at 4,100 had a great game against Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. He's only 4,100. I think you could put him in the cash conversation. Demario Douglas is in the cash game conversation for me now. He is questionable because of a head injury. So there's a situation where he doesn't play this week. If he does get cleared and he plays, he's been one of the best young receivers in football this year. He's been surprisingly consistent, hitting double-digit DK points in 3 straight games and 4 of his last 5, despite the bad quarterback play from the Patriots. And the Chargers are one of the best matchups. I mean, they're just horrible against passing games, receivers right now. So Douglas and Samuel both are in play for me. And then we'll see what happens with the Saints stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, if both Olave and Shaheed are out, like, we could be playing my boy, A.T. Perry. He let me down last week. I wrote him up for tournaments. He didn't do much, but he played a ton of snaps. And he was on the field, obviously. I think he's a good receiver. So if the Saints are down their top 3 receivers, I mean, we're going to get some value here. So, like, we could put someone like him in there. We'll just have to wait and see. At tight end, Kittle is in play for tournaments, but I've been less inclined to play tight ends against Philly for years. We've been targeting Philly with tight ends, but ever since they traded for Kevin Byard, they've improved drastically against the tight end position. Kevin Byard put Travis Kelce in a body bag on Monday Night Football 2 weeks ago, and he played pretty decent against Dalton Kincaid as well. Kincaid did have a drop on what would have been a bigger play, but yeah, I've been less inclined to play tight ends against Philly. So Kittle, GPP only. Laporta, GPP only. Where I think you're going for cash games is I'm really happy that DraftKings priced up Freiermuth to 4,300, coming off a 24 DK point game and a clear role change in the offense without Matt Canada. Now he gets Arizona. It's a great spot. But I would prefer to get up to Trey McBride, I think. McBride continues to have one of the best roles for a tight end in all of football, and he's only 600 more. So I like McBride again. I like Freiermuth for cash, but if you're picking one, I lean McBride. You can also consider Juwan Johnson here. If the Saints receivers are all out, like instead of taking a shot on one of those cheap receivers, you could just plug in Juwan Johnson at 3,400 at tight end. And then if Treylon Burks is out, you can use Chigakonkwo as well. That would be my cash game pool, I think, at the position. DST, I mean, we're looking to save money here per usual. Patriots, 2,400. Tennessee against Minshew. Saints at home, whatever, just look at a save money. So early cash game team, I could see like maybe something with Purdy, Moss, Rashad, Tyreek, Downs. Let's put in like McBride and just a cheap defense. So that gives you 55 per position. So you could easily fit another like mid-tier receiver and one of those Steelers running backs. Or if you wanted to get up to Kyron Williams, you could use like a Curtis Samuel and or someone slightly cheaper. And one of the Saints guys, like we have 55 per, so there's several different 2v2s you could use here. But I mean, if we get to use the A.T. Perry at 33, like that could get us up to a 77. So moving down at McBride could get us like Alvin Kamara or something. Like that's probably something along the lines of what I'll play this week. If you made it through the video, thank you. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Good luck in week 13. I'll be back for the Sunday morning stream on Sunday. You can check out my written content later in the week, dfskarma.com. And like I said, I have a big betting card for college football this week as well. So betkarma.com/pricing if you want access to that. Good luck in week 13. I'll see you guys on Sunday.